because we want to give Jerry all the time he wants and needs to talk and paint. It feels like we were just here. We were just a couple weeks ago, and it's so nice to see all of you again. Welcome to our guest artist, Jerry Salinas, who Chris Sanders is going to introduce in just a little while. But I also want to point out to you that his wife, Jay, where's Jay? Did she leave the room?
She ran to the car.
Okay. She's just as important as Jerry is. She is the head of research for Mayo in Phoenix. I mean, that is a huge job. Yes, and thank goodness they're doing research up there, right? So you'll learn more about Jerry from Chris. And I want to introduce our member artists who are here tonight. Ted Burkhausen. Chauncey Homer is here. Where's Chauncey?
There's Chauncey.
There you are. It's so nice to have you here. Chauncey was one of our scholarship recipients a long, long time ago, and so we can take all the credit in the world for your success. Right? Thank you for coming.
Thanks,
Michael Ewing, I want to thank you. Michael spent 20 or 30 minutes with our current scholarship recipient, Rachel, who was here last month, mentoring her and talking to her about her art. And I just have great feelings about her future, and thanks to you and to Gwen Porter for bringing her last month. Patty Moyer's here, I know, I saw you here. Darcy Pete. Eric Stromer, Joe Valdez. Did I miss anyone? Are there any other artists in the room? I'd also like to, who else? Darcy, yes? And Alyssa. Great. Will you stand up so everybody can recognize you? We have a couple of new members here today. Dana Morgan, who has this fabulous bola tie, and Chuck Rogers. Oh, Judy! I had you on the list and I looked you. Judy Flynn, one of my favorites, and a longtime friend. Where's Chuck Rogers?
He might be talking to his daughter in Seattle.
Oh.
I had dinner with him.
Okay.
He's very nice.
Very nice. He's very nice, Patty says. And his wife's name is Brenda, and she couldn't be here tonight. So when you meet them, welcome them aboard. Thanks to those of you who renewed your membership. If you haven't yet, make sure it's on your to-do list, because December 31st is our date to make that happen. And with that, I would like to introduce Chris Sanders, who is going to tell you a little bit more about Jerry.
I'm going to be very quick so Jerry can paint. Jerry went to the American Academy of Fine Art, which is where a lot of the legends that you guys all know came from, illustrators and painters. And a quick note, he's going to be on the cover, which we can't release this till December 12th, which I just blew. He'll be on the cover of Art of the West magazine. So the full feature is on Jerry, so if you guys get that magazine, he is the darling of next month, which I literally wasn't supposed to mention. That's okay, so don't put that on Facebook. And I'm going to get out of Jerry's way, but when you watch him paint, you guys have been exposed to so many great artists through the years. All of them have great academic educations, but at some point an artist has to quit using this and start using that. So watch the decisions he makes and what he does, more of a feeling than a rendering. It's not trying to reproduce photography. He's trying to get a little bit of who he is as a human being and how the medium of oil works with lost and found edges, and that's what makes art art. So watch him, because very few artists will actually do what Jerry's doing. So as he's working through, and I love the fact that he can't quit. He's already started. He's going. But just watch the decisions he makes, because that will tell you more about Jerry than any biography you'll ever read. So with that, Jerry Salinas, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me, guys. It was fantastic. The food was great too. You know, whose idea was that? But thank you also to the people that organized this. I've been talking to Hugh and Cynthia. Patty. Sorry, Patty. I'm great with faces, terrible with names. You know, as you can tell, that's how I am. But we're gonna go and look at some slides of my work, and we'll start right now. Okay, so we'll begin. All right, so for the first slide, we're going to make this a quick slideshow so I can spend the time painting. I started painting Western art maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and when I did it, I decided to do it because being from the Chicago area, I was doing a lot of urban scenes. I was going to Europe and painting these cafe scenes, but I realized I live here in Arizona. I would meet ranchers, Native Americans, and it's the West, right? So I'm like, I took the words of N.C. Wyeth, the great illustrator. He says, paint what you know, and that's what he taught his son Andrew Wyeth. He goes, you're from, Northeast, you paint where you're from. So I'm pretty much from Phoenix now. I've been living here for 23 years, so I decided to paint the West. And it's a more interesting than I thought it would be. The history of Native American people was just, everyone's different. I mean, my wife and I went and did a run on a Hopi reservation, and we also have a mission that gives away reading glasses and sunglasses, which we did a couple weeks ago on the Navajo reservation. But if you look, there's this big Navajo reservation, and then there's the Hopi reservation in the middle. And when I talk to my Navajo friends, they go, "Do you get along with the Hopis?" And they go, "We now we do, but our parents and our grandparents didn't get along with them." So it's like, wow, why wouldn't you get along? But they have their own culture, they have their own regalia, they live differently. I had a owl feather at my house, and my Navajo artist friend wouldn't come in until I got rid of it. Where the Hopis tell me, no, we don't care. We don't care about owls. And that's like, okay, but they live near each other, but they have different ideas about how their culture is. So, which has been really fun for me. But as you can see through the slides, a lot of what I like to paint are also Hopi ladies with the squash blossom hair. I love that. And, I grew up watching Star Wars. George Lucas got that from the Hopi girls, and so, but I love it. And actually, it's not a great photo, but the painting on the left is the one on the cover. That'll be on the cover. I didn't tell you that. And I love painting horses. And you see the cowgirl on the horse on the bottom left. That was a piece that Tula bought. And that was 48 by 60, so it was about this size, But most of my paintings have been big, but I do have galleries that they want smaller, which is fine. But lately, most of my paintings have been very large, and other artists ask me, is it easier? I always tell them it's not easier, but it's more fun to work big. And that's a big part of why I do my art, I like to have fun. I did years of illustration. It was a grind, made a lot of money, it was a great career. But after a while, it's just, there's no soul into it. It's someone else's soul. And the fine art is what I put my soul into. So when I turned 50, my wife said, "You're 50. You said you'd be bitter if you're not a fine artist. Stop what you're doing and be a fine artist." So thank you. I always tell her. She deserves a lot of credit, So started teaching, got into galleries, started painting Western stuff, got away from the urban scenes, and I've never been happier. I'm starting to have some success, and not only selling, which is great, the galleries love, but also I'm seeing the paintings evolve. That's really important to me. That's probably the most important thing to me, is to see my artwork evolve into something else that I never thought it would be. I always thought I would be this kind of painter, but I evolved to another type of painter. And I told myself, I can't be like everyone else in the gallery. I have to do my own thing, and I just let it flow out of me, And the school I did go to, Turpney went there, Richard Schmidt, if you know who those guys are. It is a softer realism, and it almost like it came back. When I was working a little tighter, a little more rendered out, I said, let me loosen up, let me do what I did in art school, hold that brush farther back, use a lot of paint, use big brushes, and and then I get more of an expressive type painting. Before I was doing a lot of little noodly stuff, which I don't mind looking at, but I don't want to do it, which is not my personality. I'm kind of a crazy person. I like to just go nuts, and she knows. And I like to throw paint around. If you come to my studio, like some of these splashes that are on the backgrounds, this one doesn't have it. I'm just flinging paint at it, And I told her I think we need a bunch of Oriental rugs on the tiles because the paint's starting to build up. So we got to cover it up. So we'll get that done. But as you can see, there's a lot of different paintings. Some of these were for that was for a museum residency in Bighorn, Wyoming at the Britton Museum. So it's been a fun ride these last 4 years, not only getting into galleries, but doing museum shows. Doing these group shows and meeting a lot of nice collectors and a lot of great artists also, but also feeding off the energy of my models who are Native American or they're cowboys or ranchers. It's fun to meet that. It's even fun to meet these horses that I've painted. Because I learned through these ranchers, these cowboys, horses have their own personality. They stand a certain way, the way humans stand on one leg, one weight on one leg. Horses do the same thing. And probably the biggest thing I learned when I did my residency in Wyoming is the way they stand from butt to face is so they could swat the flies off of each other with the tails. I had no idea. I'm just like, because I'm like this when I was there. I'm like, wow, this is all new to me. So it was great. It's been a great experience. And as we're going, and I know I'm short for time, but let's go to those last slides, and I'll talk about my process. So we'll paint. So one way I did start is I took old photos, right? And those are vintage photos, and I did my version of them. And I do have a mentor, Rosita Santiago. She says, don't copy the photo exactly. Be creative, which is what I did. Okay. So I have that painting. I took the photo and I made my own version of it. And the colors don't exist. For a while there, I was working off of black and white photos, and because color doesn't matter to me, it's the values, and I'll talk about that later. We can go to the next one. But I also, because I was a digital illustrator, I did everything on the computer. I put this together with several photos. And her necklace didn't exist. I did that in AI. So I was able to go into AI and create a Hopi necklace and put that on her. But even if I have the reference, my painting doesn't look like the reference. I still have to interpret it. The reference is just a tool for me to get to the final painting. And if you can see the turquoise necklace, the smaller one, it didn't even exist in the reference. I just made that up out of my head, which,
Jerry, when will the photograph lie to you?
Well, with the photograph, the darks that you see in a photograph are just too dark. It goes to black or it goes too white, right? So you can't believe photographs as an artist because they're either too dark or too light. And so I have years and years of painting from life. When I was illustrating, the only real painting I did was going to the Paladin Chisel in Chicago and painting from life. And I almost did that every day. And that's probably the best way to learn how to paint, is painting from life. So I have a lot of experience painting from life. And, when I look at that reference, I can see the shadows are very dark. I had to get more life into the shadow side. But in the end, I just don't even think about any of the technical parts. When I'm painting, I just go for it like Chris says. And in the end, I might step back and say, oh, well, maybe this drawing's off or this value or this color could change. But when I'm painting, I'm in a zone, and I just it's all heart and mind, but mostly heart. I just go for it and go crazy. And we can see the last one here. So these two ceramics are from Japan, the 1700s. You see the vase with the chicken, and then you see the birds on the blue vase. That inspired me to do this painting, where I do a abstract background, but I wanted to make it simpler. And this one I did simpler because I have the flowers. And you can see how it mimics the vases. And that's an artist. They get inspired by other artwork that they see. It's painting on a vase, but it still inspired me to do this painting. And that's kind of how I work, kind of that way. I get inspired by certain things. I get inspired by faces here. I look at people, I see a lot of beautiful necklaces in here that I'm gonna steal. Steal, what do the artists say? Steal for many is creativity. Steal for one is just stealing. You know? So there's a lot of necklaces I'm gonna go for here. So, all right, so we'll start painting, and I'll talk about that as I'm going. So here's my reference, and this is a little more insight. One reason why I wanted to do a demo, because I asked, has anyone done a demo here? And I think there was a watercolorist one time. So I'm the first oil painter. Yeah, that's why I wanted to do it. I'm the first. But this is my reference. I won't follow it exactly. We're really short for time. If I were to do this on my own in my studio, it would take 3 to 4 hours. And then I'd let it sit overnight and come back for an hour or 30 minutes. But this is my reference, and I started already because we're short for time here. And my process is values. What are values? Okay, if he's in full color, these colors all have a gray tone to them. So what you see here is just a value. You see a dark value, a light value, a very light value, okay? And that's all I paint, and the shapes they make. So look at his hair up here. That shape, that's all I paint. I don't see a nose, I don't see an ear, I don't see hair. All I see is shapes. That's all that exists, and that's the American Academy of Art. That's the way Turping did a lot of his paintings, Richard Schmid, and all these other guys that came out of that school, like, you know, who are my age painting today, like Scott Burdick, if you've heard of him, and Dan Gerhardt's. It's all similar way of painting, Rose Franson. But I'll hold this and talk as I'm going. And, well, I was going to dip my brush in my water. That's a no-no. There's a reason I got a little glitch from all the turp I've drank over the years. All right, so I'm gonna do the eyes. So if we get anywhere, with the eyes. Sorry. I'll get this eye in a little better, okay? And all I'm seeing is just little shapes of color, and the colors don't matter. All that matters are the shapes and the value, how light or dark that shape is. That's all I care about. And that's why things look abstraction with this type of paint. Like if you look at a Turpning, sometimes his stuff gets really abstract because he's only looking at the shapes, and he keeps them very abstract because he wants them to go back and he wants the figure to come forward. This is so much fun. So here, this gets a little darker here. Now see, as I put things down, you'll start to see he starts to pop out a little bit. I'm just mixing any color here. That's my palette. It's kind of a little crazy. For these paintings, the big ones, I don't do this. This is my fun time, right? I get creative, but I'm a little bit more controlled when I do the big paintings because things could get out of hand, right? And I'm drawing as I'm painting. With the big ones, I draw first. I sit there with one color, like a brown usually, and I draw everything completely. And I get that in, and I might wash in some of the values, like where some of the darks are, under the chin or on the side of the face. So I keep it very, very simple in the beginning, and then I throw the colors on there. And I have a way of painting. It's called shape to shape. We learned that in art school. They were doing it in the late 1800s, but I actually just start with the eye and work my way out. Everything touches. And then in the end, I'll jump back into the painting, and I'll throw some of the abstraction. But this one is more of a way of painting. I would paint from life. I actually did a demo for my students this morning at Scottsdale Artist School, and it was very similar to this, except they ask a ton more questions. Well, you're welcome to ask me anything you want. You know, it doesn't even have to be about art. It could be about my Thanksgiving.
I have a question.
Yes.
In the painting over there, the highlight has like 6 different shape values, and I wonder if you can talk
Well,
about
the
that.
re-
Just in the highlight of
Yes,
that.
the reason why this is a quick little painting, I just had one little dot of white, and it works. But that's such a large painting, if you just put one dot of light, I wouldn't say white, it's not what's really happening
How do you
there.
figure it out?
Because, well, everything has an edge. Where this meets here, where this meets here, there's an edge. It makes a hard edge, a firm edge, a soft edge. So there's a lot of little edges going around that highlight because of the size of it. And because I don't care about the colors, if I see those values, I'll play with it. I might make it cold, like a blue, And at the end of the day, as I get more of the painting, I might change it to an orange because it just needs the orange instead of the blue, right? But the value's on, okay? So when I talk values, I want to get these grays right. And they'll be flesh color, the light will be Band-Aid color, but I want them to be the values that I know are in the photo. So one thing I do try to follow in the photo are the values, except if they're too black or too white. Like his hair here, that's just too white, right? And I added some blue to it, but in the end, I would probably go a little darker in here. So as I'm painting this, I'm thinking the light's hitting here. This is the shadows. Let me get that form in there. He's also an older gentleman, right? So I'm thinking he's not going to have this pure, clear skin. There's going to be some creases and some wrinkles and things, right? He's got some, and I think about that. Like if I'm painting a beautiful woman like any of them, all of you, you got to think about, okay, it's a beautiful woman, I got to make her beautiful. If it's an old man, I got to make him old. Old native guy who's in the sun all day, Or if I paint my wife, I make her look cutesy. By the way, every New Year's Day I paint my wife, I do a portrait. So, and sometimes we dress her up. But look, this year I'll probably do it live again. We'll be home, right, for New Year's? Yeah, I usually do it live on Instagram. Some people get this, if you want to watch it. She's posed for a lot of artists. We have a couple in the house, and they were asking me someone asked me where she posed. I had her stop posing when they started asking her. This is 25 years ago. Well, you think your wife will pose nude? I'm like, no, not for you. Creeps. She's mine.
Did you verify that was an artist that was asking?
Yes. Only an artist will ask that. Because they're the only ones that can get away with it without getting punched. Or arrested. Artists could get away with a lot, but, I try not to be that type of artist. But I'm not even thinking, this isn't flesh, right? It's not flesh, but it looks like flesh because we kind of know this eye that looks like an eye, it's always surrounded by flesh and an eyebrow. So it doesn't have those colors, but it has the form of what we're used to seeing. Because this type of painting, and a lot of painters, we rely on your memory to explain what our painting's doing. Especially if we go, even more minimal with our brush strokes. Your brain's going to know what it is, right? That's why when you look at a mountain or some kind of natural landmark, oh, that looks like Abraham Lincoln. And why? Because it's in our mind. That's the only reason why it looks like Abraham Lincoln, because we have Abraham Lincoln in our mind. We know what a nose looks like. We know that eyes have to be symmetrical. If an eye's down here and another one's up there, all you think about is, a Picasso, or you think about Quasimodo, and that's it, right? So in our mind, we have that. We have that base in our mind of what things look like, right? And we know when something's off, right? We even know if somebody's got a limp, right? You kind of see that. We've been around a while. We've seen everything. So I could get away with having crazy flesh colors, and it'll still tell the story and still look like a human being because the values are right. And I'm kind of being honest with this. I'm having fun. Now there's some more advanced things. I don't know if you want to hear them, but it also has to do with the temperature of the colors. So you could have a green that looks cold, and a green that looks warm. So one that has more yellow or orange in it, or one that has more blue. And those things artists use to turn the form, especially the Chicago school. They might not do it on the East Coast, or I think California, they kind of do it. But that's more of a Chicago thing of painting, and just like on the Northeast coast, I go by values because of Chicago, but on the Northeast, they don't do values. They do the color. Get the color right, get the value right. But my thing is, I gotta stick to those colors. I can't be creative. So I'd rather be creative and have fun, I had enough years of people telling me what to paint and draw as an illustrator, which was fun in itself. That magazine article I'm in, they did ask me, when did you quit illustration? I go, I completely quit last year, my last illustration job. It was actually a birthday card for a certain billionaire. And I did it 2 years in a row, and I told him, no more, I'm not gonna do it, I don't wanna do any type of commercial work. So I hopefully I went out in the big bang, It was well paying, so that's why I took it. But I'm having much more fun painting my own ideas and concepts.
Jerry and wife also said it was really, really hard to move from illustration to fine art. A lot of folks don't make it.
Yeah, and it depends on how, in that article I talk about it. Even though I had an illustration career, the end game was always being a fine artist. And I kind of stick to certain type of illustration that didn't take me away from practicing fine art. Like I said, I painted from the live model every day. I told her when we met, if I'm 50, because I thought 50 was old at the time. I wish I was 50. I told her, if I'm 50 and not an artist, I'll be a bitter old man. And, because my end game was always to be an artist. That's all I ever wanted to be, ever since I was a little kid. Thank God I had great parents, brothers and sisters who supported me. Everyone was very happy to see that I have this going for me. I even go to my high school reunion. They nominated me for most creative or something, or happiest graduate or something. They sent me that. I'm like, what?
Where did you grow up?
East Chicago, and that's on the Indiana side.
Gary?
No, near Gary.
I grew up in Homewood.
Oh yeah, I deliver pizzas out there in Homewood. No, that's the area the new Pope's from. He's from Dalton out there. But all my family, we were all in Chicago also. I lived on the south side in Beverly, if you guys know where
That's
that's
where
at.
he grew up.
Yeah, there we go.
Lake Bleach.
There you go. And I had a restaurant out there also. And there's a magazine, the art magazine that's based out of Arizona. The owner, Aldo, he went to the high school that was down the block from my restaurant. So I said, what are you doing in that? That's like a farming school. He goes, I lived in a pretty dangerous neighborhood. It was like a safer school to go to. I was like, oh, great for you, But yeah, it's funny. Being from Chicago, you meet a lot of different people, And it's been fun. My dad was what they call mill rats. He worked in a steel mill. He was a crayman. He was great. My parents were great, because when I graduated high school, my dad said, you can go to art school. If you want to go to art school, we'll support you. And I did get a scholarship to the Art Institute of Chicago first, but it wasn't the school for me. I wanted to do realism. So I transferred over to the academy, which meant my dad had to pay out of pocket now. He said, do whatever you got to do.
Where do you live now?
I'm in Phoenix, in north central Phoenix. If you guys know where Enchiladas is, I'm in that neighborhood that borders it. That's kind of a famous tourist place. I teach at Scottsdale Art School. I have one dog.
What kind is it?
It's a Mexican street dog that they brought over from Mexico. And we had no idea. They just said, oh, he's from Mexico. And I'm like, okay. And he was crazy. He fights the coyotes. He doesn't care. He had one by the ear through the front fence. It was pretty crazy. He was looking last night because the dens, we live on a hill, so the den is behind our house. We always hear him. And he's out there just going nuts. And he's about the size of a coyote. But he's a fun dog. We invited him to finally sleep with us after 3 years. He won't do it. I'm like, sleep with you. No, I'm good. He gets down and sleeps on his own bed. But a good dog. Great guard dog. If anyone gets close to me, he just goes nuts. That includes him. What was that?
Have you painted him?
I've painted him a couple times, little sketches. The only thing is, I try not to do a lot of dog portraits. I kind of want to do it though, but every time I show them, I get people asking me to do dog portraits. Hey, you want to do a portrait of my dog? And it's like, not really. I do and I don't. Chris will get mad that I'm spending time doing dog portraits instead of painting for the gallery.
What galleries in Arizona are you represented in?
I'm in Sedona at Mountain Trails.
Okay.
I'm in this great gallery called Chris Sanders Gallery in Tucson. But I also do the Celebration of Fine Art in North Scottsdale. That's every year. This will be my second year. I do it with my friend Bruce here. That's where I met him. Bruce Marion, who's an artist there. And I'm also in a gallery in Santa
And
Fe.
his wife Lee.
Oh, and his wife Lee, sorry. Yeah.
Bruce Lee.
Yeah, Bruce Lee.
What gallery in Santa Fe?
Santa Fe Trails Fine Art. But I love Chris Sanders Gallery. I just love Chris. Maybe more than his wife. Sorry. And if I sound a little weird, I burnt my tongue on some coffee today driving in.
Must have been McDonald's.
It was Q Trip, QT or something. Quick Trip. The donut was stale. I was like, ugh. No, but okay, so what am I doing here? I'm just building up the paint, trying to get the values right, not thinking about the colors. I'm being expressive. I am using a limited palette. There's very few colors here. Now, I'm expanding that palette by mixing different colors with the colors that are here. So I don't have a green, but I'm using my yellow and my blue, and I have two different blues. I did pick up this blue for free. Look at this. Phthalo blue by Bob Ross. It's good. It's good paint. You know, people don't realize those gimmick paints, they're made by like Winsor Newton or Dale Rowney in England, so they're really good paints. They're actually sometimes cheaper, you know. I mean, as you can see, I go through a lot of paint, so she watches my call, so. But I had a great Thanksgiving.
I'm really curious about, you say your values, and this is my first time here, so value equates the different grays?
Yes, so this blue on this mountain line painting, the background, is a certain value. It's a certain gray. So if you squint down, which one is it? And it's probably this one here. It's close to this. And that's how I do it. I squint down. And that's how I find the value that I need. Okay? Now, I've never held the microphone and painted, so I hope so. I'm having fun. But I was telling my students today, when you're at home painting, talk to yourself, the whole process. And it's good to do that because you kind of tell yourself like a teacher what to do, right? Yeah, ask yourself questions. Why do I do that? And I do that after I've spent a good week on that painting. I'll stand back and just sit there and look at it. And I'll study it. And then I'll look at it through a mirror. I'll look at it backwards and tell myself, do I see anything wrong? I'll turn it upside down. I'll turn my head sideways. Another artist taught me that. And I'll just give it as many new, fresh looks as I can. And sometimes I take a photo of it and reduce it down, right? But I always stand back. One thing I try to do is stand back. And the reason why you stand back in a painting, you have paintings in your home, right? Most of the time you're looking at them from farther back and that they look good. Or if you go to a gallery, you walk into a gallery, what pulls you in is not because the painting's right here, it's because it's farther back. And as you walk in, those paintings that catch you, they're well designed, the values are good, and that's what pulls you into the painting, okay? Because you're not walking into the gallery and the painting's right there and looking at it. And sometimes they are, but you really don't notice it until you get back. It's when you step back, that's when you see the story, the life to the painting, right? And if you look around, just which of these paintings, a lot of these paintings look very good from a distance, right? You know, most of them actually, and some even more so, right? And then some paintings you do have to get up close and see the details. My paintings are about the abstraction, the thickness of the paint, the splashes. That's the details I want you to see when you get to my paintings. I'm not the detail person. I will have that in the eyes or in some of the other areas, like maybe the jewelry. But you know, there's some painters who don't work very rendered, and that's what they're trying to sell and mold for themselves is the details. But for me, I want the expression. You know, I want the craziness. Because that one semester I spent at the Art Institute, which is a contemporary school, I love doing those abstractions. It was crazy. You know, it's just like fling paint, you know, do crazy stuff. And that's carried over into my painting. But like I said, the Academy the fine art program also showed you that, not only with the realism, which is great. How much time do I have?
I know, 25 minutes,
Oh,
playtime.
I'll stop. I'll talk and paint. All right, so value-wise, you asked about value. So look at the eyebrows. The eyebrow is darker here and lighter there, but I don't have it dark enough here. So they're two different values. They're also two different colors, right? Just as when I look at your hair, the front's a little blonder, it's darker here. Those have two different values, okay? So if I were to paint you, this would be lighter, yellower, this would be browner, right? It's just like if you had two different color eyes, a brown and a green one, they might be different values. Or if you had a brown one and a blue one that's light, and this eye's dark, they're not gonna be the same value. They're just gonna be different colors. I like this. That's just a new way I'm gonna explain it to my students. Sometimes I get hung up talking to my students because I'm like, I said this 3,000 times already, I just don't know if it's getting to them. Do I try to say it a different way? And sometimes that helps, you know. But as you can see, my palette's getting crazy. That's when I would scrape it off and start new. It's a little bit too messy. The colors start to get gray. I do like grays, but I like to hold back on the dirtiness of the palette. Because you gotta remember, all these colors that we have, they're all based off of the primaries, red, yellow, and blue. So anytime I mix anything with red, yellow, or blue, if I overmix or overblend, it gives me a problem of making gray. Okay, and that's why people who paint, some of you guys who paint here, if you overblend and lick, where you keep, oh, I hope this gets better, I hope this gets better, you'll start to mix those three primaries and then you get a dirty gray in your palette, and your painting. Okay, so don't do that. That's the big lesson I tell students. Try not to do that. I do try to keep my brushes clean. I think this microphone's gonna have some paint on it, but I got some cleaner. Like I said, my studio, it's getting out of hand. You know, I invited Chris over, but maybe I'll have it clean by then when he comes. You know. So as we go, his face is broad. I got to make sure, even though I see less cheek here and more cheek here, they still have to look like they're sitting on the same face. Because if I made this like that, it's not going to look right. Okay? It's got to look like they're symmetrical, no matter from what angle. And I'm actually deviating from the reference. I'm going to make this darker.
How long have you been an art instructor?
Off and on for like maybe 10 years. But I spent 7 years at Scottsdale Artist School teaching every Thursday and Friday. And we kind of never stopped. I would just take off to go see my family, or if we went on vacation. And we would just keep going. And it was a lot of the same students, still a lot of the same students. We just keep going. Even during COVID.
Are those in-person classes?
They're in-person classes in Scottsdale. I only teach on Tuesdays now. I took some time off. But like even during COVID, no, I was telling Bruce, I think, no one was allowed to hug me, so I could show up at least. But the thing is, I never got COVID, and a lot of people said I probably had it, but I didn't know it, but whatever. But that's the fun about art. Even though there's some crazy things happening in the world when you're doing art, including my students, you know, it changes your attitude, makes you happy. Because there was a lot of people who, like, if I didn't have this class, I would be isolated and lonely, you know, and now I'm with these people that we have like minds, which is great, you know, and I loved it. And, you know, in every class, we kind of stopped it, but every class ended with a couple of bottles of Prosecco. And I picked that up from, I used to teach in Florence, Italy also, and that owner of the school would end the class with Prosecco. Good Italian Prosecco, not the stuff I could afford. And so I brought that here, and we would do a lot of drinking. But now they just kind of drink during the day. They bring their bottles and they drink, and I'm like, just don't, we're not allowed to drink hard liquor. That's the only thing. That's what the school says. You can't have hard liquor, so it's usually just white wine or whatever. What's chilled white wine? Rosé, that's it. We all like rosé. So yeah, you know, we have fun, but they're serious. They take their art serious. They listen, and for you people who are students, go home and practice. That's what they do. If I said if you could do one thing to improve your art, is go home and practice. You don't just come to this class, right? And they all do. They all take it seriously, and they do some amazing paintings. I get a lot of people who paint their grandkids, which is fine, but some of these paintings are really amazing. Really amazing paintings. And some of these people could be in galleries, but they're like, they don't need to be, right? They're not looking to make a living. They just love what they're doing. But their paintings are just amazing. I have a lady who paints smoking cows, my friend Susan, and they're amazing. Everyone buys them. She sells them, but they're not just.
Had one at the Beaux-Arts.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Beaux-Arts.
I
Did you
saw
see
it,
it? So they're holding cigarettes, and she's also doing pigs, holding cigarettes. She used to be a bad smoker. She quit during COVID, and she says this is how I get through it.
How did you promote your art?
How do I promote my art? Well,
Painting in galleries?
here's how I got into the gallery. I told myself, I was teaching so much, I told myself, why aren't I in a gallery? Because a lot of artists would ask me, you're not in galleries? And I go, I gotta get in a gallery. And so we went to Santa Fe, because it's a pretty big figurative market, because I do figurative. And we walked around, and I didn't talk to anybody about being in a gallery. I didn't even take any work. I just wanted to fill it out. I like the feel of things. I like to, when I met my wife, I felt her up a lot before I asked her to do it. But I like feeling things out first. I like feeling things out. She said, don't touch me. I know she's going to say, don't touch me. So I went to Santa Fe, and we came home, and I'm like, okay, I know what I have to do. I know the type of work I need. I was doing it already, but a week later, I get a message on Instagram from Santa Fe Trails, and they go, we really like your work. We like that it's contemporary. Can you come to the gallery? And it was a week later. And I was like, wow, it's like I manifested it or something. I don't even believe in that stuff, but it worked out. And they were the start, and they liked that I was contemporary. But a big part of it is their son, Dustin Payne, he's in the Cowboy Artists of America. He liked my work because he's younger, and he says we needed some more contemporary Western. Something a little more edgier, more contemporary. You get a lot of people in Santa Fe who are from the East Coast. A lot of East Coasters here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have a different taste in their art sometimes, It's not just traditional Western. It could have splashes and splatters and things. And so I went from there. I got in and it went great. But I had one great painting that sold because of Chauncey Homer. He told me, paint something big. Do one of those Native Americans from the old photos. And I did it. And at the time, I thought it was big. It was about 30 by 40. But it was the first painting I put in the gallery, the first painting I sold. So, with Chauncey, he's actually been a mentor to me also. I don't ask him to be my mentor, but you're my de facto mentor. I'm your mentee. He's my Obi-Wan. He's my Obi-Wan Kenobi. My Yoda is Rosita Santiago, if you know her. Yeah, you guys know her? So we're like this, we're close. And so, she kind of got upset. She goes, I'm Yoda. But here's the weird thing, is they both have done paintings of tattooed horses. And they didn't even know each other, which is great. But Rosita says, I did it first. You tell him I did it first. She's 80 years old, by the way. So. But that's the part of the art thing. The part of the art thing isn't just painting in your studio. It's talking to other artists, socializing, having fun, But even though we have silly conversations, there's some seriousness that comes out in the end because we leave thinking about things, right? I might be talking about, I bought this tube of paint, what can I do with it? And then another artist telling me that, and I'm like, I'm gonna go buy those tubes also, and I'm gonna give it a try. And then you're on to something new. So, that's a good thing about being an artist, where she kind of has been to dinners where it's like, okay, it's craziness, but I end up leaving with inspiration, and I end up leaving with new ideas, Like I see Chauncey's newest work, if you've been to the galleries, putting gold leaf and gold paint, beautiful. And I'm like, ooh, I wouldn't mind trying that. I just gotta ask his permission. But, okay, we'll go back to this.
So these large-scale paintings you've got of the Native American women,
Yes.
are they strictly from a photograph?
Yeah. Well, no, somebody, she's a model, but she didn't look like that exactly. When I painted that, I had a Navajo friend over who's an artist, J.R. Sanders, And he goes, well, she looks very Asian. But I showed him a vintage photo of a Blackfoot woman, and he's like, wow, I guess they do look Asian, because that was from the 1800s. So as an illustrator, I'm able to take my photo reference, like I had up there, my photo reference, I use my computer, I use AI, and I mix things together, okay? I never really try to get a portrait of the model. I need to be creative. I need to do something different.
So is this, what you refer to as a model, is that her main source of income?
Well, no, I have models, Native American models that I've shot. Yeah, you pay them.
That's their career, is being a model?
No, there are, like the fine art models in art school, that might be their career, but the Native American models, no. I mean, you can't make a living off of it. Now, it's expensive to shoot Native American models, especially if it's one-on-one. I had a model, you guys know who John Mowers is? Yeah, his model that he mainly uses, good-looking kid, came to my house, who's also a great painter. I can't remember his name right now. But, God, he was like $200 for 30 minutes. So I'm like, let's get to work. Put this on, you know. And thankfully I sold a couple paintings from that photo shoot that covers that, you know.
So do some of these models, the live models, have a different career and they were just interesting as a model?
Oh, yes. Well, like the gentleman here with the mustache and the, I could make him Buffalo Bill right there. When I look at him, I'm like, I'll put him in a hat and make him Buffalo Bill. You know, I'm looking at everybody, you know. I'm looking at all these pretty faces. I'm looking at everybody's interesting, you know. And I'm thinking, like, how can they do it? And that part of that is not only the artist, but the illustrator. Because I would have to do that. They would give me reference and say, okay, now have him holding a Swiffer. You know, put this together, make it look like this guy, but holding a Swiffer or whatever.
So when you take different images from all those different sources, and you know, the live and the computer and the you put them all in one reference thing.
Yeah, and
then
I used to do it in Photoshop and just
yeah.
collage it and then paint over it. But with AI, it kind of does it, because I use Photoshop's AI, you can kind of just put it in there and it'll do it for you, and then I still paint over
And
it.
so you get one screen image.
Yeah, one screen image, and I can even describe the light. Photoshop's always kind of been able to do that. That's what people don't realize, because they were always hiding their AI, but they're telling you, you could do this, and we just saw it as filters or just buttons you could press in Photoshop. But in reality, now that I look at that, this is just AI we were doing. But now they put it together as an AI package, you know. But yeah, so when I painted this, I had this. This is separate, okay? The whole necklace I painted out of my head because I didn't like the necklace she had. And I looked up a bone necklace online, right? And I just painted this necklace out of my head because it just needed something different down there. You know, I wanted to get a little crazy and have fun. Because it kind of had to match the hair. You notice the colors in the necklace are in the hair?
Yeah.
Right? So there's a balance there.
The hair's
Right, yeah. So it was fun to do, and fun painting to do. I mean, it was just so much fun. But, in the regalia, it's Blackfoot regalia, but it's more modern, if you're familiar with the different type of regalia.
How long did it take you to complete it?
This was over 2 weeks. And when I say 2 weeks, it's like a lot all day. Like I'll come down and see her for dinner, and then I'll go back up and work some more, you know. You try to work on it, you know. I try to, and some paintings, they take place in a week. But the necklace, it got me. It got me. You know, even though I did it out of my head, it's just like, okay, it's got to be right. I had to add things. It took a while. It took a while to do things. Go ahead. No, this took a week. This one took a week. Right?
Those two paintings for sale?
Yes. And talk to Chris. But this one took me a week, but everything was there. It just felt right. And if you looked at the reference, I don't have it here, it was much darker. I lightened everything, and I changed some of the jewelry also. Just like her hair looked black because of the photo, I made it lighter, and I don't want you to go to the hair. I want you to know hair is there, but I don't want you to go to hair because I want you to go to her eyes. And her eyes were really dark. I just made them a little lighter. You know, and part of why I did that, and people are like, the Native people have light eyes? I go, I talk to a lot of mixed Native American people, you know. And so I might as well, why not feed off of it? Because a lot of people, because I wouldn't say I'm Native American, I'm Mexican descent, so I have Native American in me, but I'm not like Native American of North America, United States. So I do get questioned by Native Americans from these different tribes, and they ask me why I paint this. and I tell them why, a big part of why, and why do you use the old photos. I love the old photos, but I know they're not historically accurate, because even the photographers were being artists, and they would throw regalia onto a different, like say Hopi regalia onto a Navajo, right? And then that's why they don't really see those photos as historical. But one thing I know that's true in those old photos is the face, and that's why I key on the face. Okay, that's Blackfoot. She's Northern Cheyenne, so I stick to that, right? So that's one thing that I look for is the face. There's nothing stronger than the face, because I talked to Chris about this. I'm also inspired by Chuck Close. If you guys know who he is, yeah. And if I can go bigger with the face, I would be happier. I just got to make sure. She was telling me make sure it fits out the door, And she said I could paint it in the dining room if I want. But it's just part of thinking as an artist, and trying new and different things. When I started doing Western art, okay, like Chauncey said, do one of those old photos. I did Sitting Bull. I never thought I'd be doing this, and I might be taking it somewhere else, right? We'll see where it goes. But every painting you change, you grow. Especially at this level, you grow all the time. If you're stagnant and just doing the same thing, you're not being an artist. You might as well be an illustrator, right? So I'm trying to grow and change things. And I talk to artists, a couple of my artists here, friends here, they're doing different things, right? Even my friend Lee, who does glass, glass vases, glass bowls, it's never the same. She's thinking of new ideas. How do I change this up? So I do have some other things in mind, but that's part of the growth. Do I tell people? Not yet. You got to keep some things secret, because you want to surprise people sometimes. I like to get Chris excited when I show him a new painting, because that's part of the energy of. Oh, yes.
Are the dots on the eyes to draw you right to the eyes?
Yes, I always like the eyes. Everyone tells me you're about the eyes. Even some of my animal paintings, it's all about the eyes. And I do push it. Her eyes weren't anything like this. And I went through probably 10 different type of eye colors until I settled on this. I actually had some greenish colors like this. Just wasn't working. It looked fake. It looked very fake, so I didn't want to do that, And her eyebrows were different. They were hairier, and I just wanted to soften them and let them go, But that's the part about being an artist, is standing back from the work and deciding, okay, do I really need to do that? Do I really have to have her hair that way, or do I have to have that necklace this way? Like this reference, this earring was head on like this one, so I just turned it to give it a little more depth, right? So you go into that, because I don't want anything to be the same.
What is really nice is the color you gave to the green.
Yes.
That is really.
That was like 3 tubes of paint.
Yeah.
And the way I apply it with a brush, I apply it with a spatula, a roller, and I'll use my hand with a glove, right? Or I'll get a rag and just stick it on there, and then I'll just throw paint at it, right? There's some thickness here. And I do want to go even crazier. That's in my future, I think, my near future, where I go even crazier. But I like the comparison of this with the reality of the face, I want you to feel something with her face. She's been there, She lives on the reservation. You can make any story you want. She lives on the reservation, She's in a regalia. She's gone through a lot of things in her life. There's some history there. She's seen her family go through some hard times, But it's fun to do though. In the end.
How old is she?
Probably about 15. And that's my story. I'm not saying she was older. I made her look younger because I have a story for this. What's my story? I don't want just to paint something. I did that for years. I wanted to have more of a story. Even the regalias, I sometimes make up some of the things. And this is based off of some photos that I found online where it was, blue material. So Native people, they might use more modern materials today for the regalia, where 150 years ago it might have been very natural, or beads from Venice, Italy, right? Glass beads, where today they're using different materials. So you might see some of these very dark blues, and these odd reds, But my friend who's Navajo, JR, he's really knowledgeable about regalia of different tribes. I do send him a picture to say, does this look authentic? Is it passable? You know, and he'll tell me. He goes, well, this could be, you know, this looks like the wrong color. But look it up. Do some more research. You know, and that eats a lot of time. You know, like I said, a week to paint it, but it took some time to research things to make my reference. But just the painting alone is a week, and it's all day. You know, I wake up before I walk my dog. I go upstairs and I look at the painting I'm working at, and then I go walk my dog and I think about it. What do I have to do? I put a list in my mind. What do I have to do? Which is fun to do. Am I done? Okay, go ahead.
Do you name your paintings?
Yes, this one I just brought. It's Northern Cheyenne, I call it, because there's Southern. That's the Oklahoma. She's in the southern southeast Wyoming. Okay, so I'm still thinking about it. Her eyes tell a story. I mean, she's strong. She's proud. You know, but I'm open. Got a name for it?
A question. When you paint large paintings like this, is it more difficult to get your dimensions correct?
It's the same as a small painting. For me, doing a head this big, it takes almost as much time as that head, because it's just so. I gotta get this right, because it's even less information on a little head, but it has to look like there's a lot of information. Where this, I could kind of really move along. And I could throw a lot at it, but then edit it a little later. So I take some things out. Like this one, there was a lot more darkness on it, a lot more shadows, but I just lightened them because her face was getting too dark. It was aging her, and I wanted to be her about 15, you know. And so I had to get rid of that just to make her look younger. You know, I wanted to look bright, youthful, you know, brave. And
are you inspired at all by any of the classic artists?
Yeah, oh yeah. The Dead Guys? Yeah, oh yeah, we were talking about that. I love the Dead Guys, you know. I love all artists. And I don't care if you're an abstract artist. I love Jackson Pollock, because Chicago had some great Jackson Pollocks. Some people would say, ugh. Even my realist friends, they're like, you're crazy. I go, these are beautiful. You know, I don't care how he did it or why he did it. I look at them and it gives me a certain emotion. Because the first time I went to the Art Institute as a kid, that's the first gallery we went to. It doesn't exist anymore. They moved into the Art Institute. But they had this amazing room with like stained wood, and they had these two massive Jackson Pollock paintings in there that would just blow my mind, you know. And that's always stuck with me. And you do see some of that in my paintings. Right. And it will always stick with me. But also some of the old illustrators, like Etsy Wide's big with me, you know. Velasquez from Spain. Sorolla from Spain, Sargent, which the Phoenix Art Museum put back up, their only Sargent. Anyone around that time, the late 1800s. And I know people look at the Renaissance and think about the Italians from the 1400s, but the best Italian artists are from the late 1800s. They got it right. They got the perspective right, they got the drawing right, they got the colors right, they got everything right. All the Italian artists I know, and Italian people, they fight me on it. They go, oh, the Renaissance, I go, now. The artists of the 1800s, those were the best from Italy, you know. And because we've gone into it many times, and I've searched these paintings out, and that's where you hear it from other artists. No, go to this museum. That's where you'll see the paintings we like. And you see these Italian artists, you're like, why aren't these guys well known? There's just too many of them, you know. There's just so many of them. Only some of them stand out after a while. And it's art that artists appreciate. There's art that artists appreciate, and there's art that collectors appreciate, and hopefully I'm creating art that collectors appreciate. Honestly, that's how I think. I paint for myself, and hopefully that people appreciate. You don't have to have an art degree, or you just have to like art and ideas and design and something beautiful, right? And if it brings a tear to you, fine, that's good. Or it makes you laugh, that's also good. You know, whatever emotion it gives you. You know, even if you hate it, I'm happy. You know, it's like people say, when people buy your paintings, do you get mad if they say it goes with the rug or something? I go, heck no. If they're buying a painting and putting it in their house and curating it to go with that room, I'm proud that they picked me to be part of that room. I think that's pretty cool. But if they buy it because they're artists and they like art, that's another reason why. Or if they buy it because they emotionally pick it, that's cool. That's cool also, you know. As long as they buy it, no. Sorry.
Jerry, we are out of time, but I do want to congratulate you for being Mr. December for the Southeast.
Oh, thank you. You should see the centerfold. Sorry about the pain.
Again,